My name is Alexis Rogers, and I'm the Customer Relationship Lead here at RightCapital. And we are very excited to be here today with Nate Hoskin and Nick Meyer presenting how to scale short-form videos in your practice. Now, the goal of this webinar today is to just highlight all the ways and just the different methodologies that are very key in establishing a strong marketing presence. As we know, in this specific day and age, technology is very important in just getting out there for any capacity, but especially for financial advisors, having that strong market presence is going to be essential for connecting with clients in a more meaningful way and also just standing out as a financial advisor. So we're going to be looking at those key strategies for building that impactful online and offline presence and just learning how to enhance your visibility, build trust, and attract the right clients with the different ways of marketing. Now, with that in mind, I want to pass the baton over to Nate and Nick. But before we do, I want to highlight for those of you that are wanting to ask any questions or curious about any sort of topics that we are addressing today, please feel free to use that Q&A section to type out your questions there. We're going to have a live Q&A session that both N2 members are going to be addressing any sort of questions that you might have. So please feel free to use that as a great resource. And with that in mind, I want to pass it over to our host today of N2, Nate and Nick. Take it away.
Super excited to get started. This is a kind of longer presentation, so we're going to dive right into it. And as Alexis kindly said, we are here to talk for an hour straight about the wonderful thing of short form video. But you're probably asking yourself, okay, if I haven't heard of these guys before, why should I even listen to them? Well, I don't like to brag, but I am the most followed CFP professional on social media. I have about 1.8 million followers across the 4 major social media platforms, about 350 million total views across them. I haven't taken like the normal advisor path. I was an advisor at a firm for about 4 years, started making short form videos on the side, just to basically teach younger me what I wish I would have known about personal finance growing up, because I didn't learn anything from my parents or from school or anything, even as a finance major. And about a year later, big brands like Fidelity, SoFi, Discover Bank, Ally Bank, et cetera, were knocking on my door wanting to do marketing partnerships with me. So it made a lot of sense to just dive fully into this world. And I've been doing that for the last 3 or so years. And Nate, on the other hand, is probably a lot more like most of you guys here in attendance right now. Nate, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nate Hoskin. I currently own an RIA called Hoskin Capital. I started it in 2020 when you can't exactly go knock on doors or have people out for coffee. And so this little app called TikTok was just coming on the scene. And I was like, well, I might as well start making some videos. I set the goal January 1st of 2021 that if I got to June and I had 1,000 followers, I would count that as a win for my marketing. Well, come February, I had 50,000 followers. I'm now up to about 250,000. And I used short form video to onboard 172 clients for my RIA. So they still account for 95% of all of the clients that I've ever gotten. And the reason I'm sitting here today with my CFP moniker and with a successful business is because of short form video. So if I can share this with the world, that's a win in my book. Sorry, had to get to the button. So we're talking a lot about short form video. The big question is, what is short form video actually? So it is a video that is filmed vertically, meaning it is 9:16. It shows up really nicely on your phone, and it's 60 seconds or less, which makes it available to be posted and used on every single social media platform. We'll talk about a couple of social media platforms that are doubling down on this that you might not expect, which means that these videos can be served to viewers and served to your ideal audience rather than them having to find you like you would have on a podcast or even a long form YouTube video. So that's the big goal with short form video, is getting in front of as many people as possible. And the way it works in your business is by thinking of your business as a set of gears. Hopefully, all of the gears are nicely meshed, where your marketing gear ties in nicely with your sales gear, then it goes into your onboarding and your client service and ends in your referrals. And if all of those are nicely meshed together, you get a higher output than you put in, right? You get some sort of profitability. That's the goal of running a business. The way we view short form video is that it is the biggest possible gear that you can plug into your business. And naturally, there is this thing called gear ratio, where if you have a larger gear with more teeth and you mesh it with all of the smaller gears of your business, all of those smaller gears have to spin faster to keep up. So what's the end result? It's more clients entering through that funnel and actually becoming people that you want to work with. And I want to stress that we're not here as those guys that are like, we're going to guarantee that you're going to get 12 brand new clients at $1 million each. I'm sure all of you get those emails. Short form video is not a silver bullet. It's a system. It's something that works within the rest of your business to make everything in that business work better.
Yeah, and the reason we like short form video so much is because basically everybody watches it. So like the demographics basically mirror what we see out in the real world, at least out in the United States, because we can see like basically 2/3 of the US population watches an obscene amount of short form video content every single week. And this isn't just on like TikTok, this isn't just on Instagram, it's across all of these different platforms. So even if you think like, oh yeah, I don't see like a 65-year-old multimillionaire, I don't see them being active on TikTok, like maybe they're not, but they could consume short form video across many, many different platforms. And not only can they consume short form video, they actually make real decisions about who they hire in these high trust positions, like a financial advisor based off of it. You can see on the screen here, 50% of people say that, hey, they watch social media, they watch financial advisors on social media, and they make a decision based on who to hire based off of these short form videos. And 20% say it's literally their only decision on whether or not to hire someone as their advisor is literally just watching them on social media. And if you think about it a little bit deeper, it makes a lot of sense because social media allows you to get in front of your ideal prospects multiple times per week for week after week after week. And if you had this amount of FaceTime with a person in real life, like, yeah, they would trust you a lot and they would be willing to bring you on as their advisor, especially over some nameless faceless advisor at this big box firm down the street, because they already know, like, and trust you. And short form video is just the same way to get that FaceTime in a lot more scalable way. And it allows you to just prove that, hey, you're a real person, you provide value, and you can help these people just at scale.
So there are a lot of different ways to do social media. And I want to stress that social media is very different from short form video. Social media is any medium, right? Podcasts, long form videos, you name it, that are designed to interact socially with other people. So I have broken up social media into 3 main components. And these are probably the components that you guys think about when you're wondering how you should do organic marketing. And every single one is going to have pros and cons. With podcasts, the retention and the flexibility of what you can produce is insane. Podcasts are such a good medium. But of course, they have some drawbacks where there's some distractibility. Someone is listening to that podcast while they're driving, while they're doing the dishes, cooking their dinner. They're not really tuned in and engaging 100% with you. The other main drawback is discoverability. The fact that there is no For You page or discovery feed for new podcasts. I don't know about you guys, but I have about 5 that I listen to religiously. And other than that, I have never once looked for a new podcast unless Nick sends me something specific. The other piece is production time. You have to sit down and spend an hour actually recording it, and then you have to get it edited and prepped and ready to go. And the final one I'll highlight here is the saturation, the fact that among financial advisors, podcasts is by far the most common medium for marketing. Long form video starts to solve some of those problems, but adds in some new and interesting cons, where with long form video, you have more engagement. You have that watch time. They're not just listening to you, they are sitting down and watching and engaging with you as a human. And you still have the space to provide some extended explanations, and you have flexibility of how you produce that. But most importantly, you have algorithmic delivery. People have a way of discovering you that is not just them researching financial advisor podcasts, that kind of thing. But discoverability is not fully solved because there is so much in the long form space, and it's also something that is not fed automatically. And what I mean by that is that when you go to YouTube, you have a choice of about 20 videos on your homepage, and you have to select one to watch. Whereas with short form video, you will watch the next video that you are provided. So it is recommended directly to you. And so short form video starts to check off a couple of these other problems that I was mentioning, but it's still not a perfect platform. It's still not a perfect way to market because you still have pretty lax retention where people will watch a 1 minute video, which means you can't give extended explanations, and then they're distractible because it's so easy and low cost to scroll to the next video. So when we think about the pros and cons, you're never going to find a perfect way of doing this. The question is, which of these drawbacks are native to the medium, and which of these drawbacks can we control? Because distractibility, how people consume podcasts, we can't control that. Discoverability, we can't control that because there is no discovery feed for podcasts. For the production cost of long form video, we can try, but that's not really something that we can really control. With short form video, we can control the retention by consistently being in their feed. We can provide extended explanations just by doing parts 1, 2, and 3 on the same topic. And we can handle distractibility by making really engaging, well-produced content. So that's why we think short form video is by far the best medium for advisors, is we get to control those drawbacks.
Now, if you guys spend a lot of time on a certain social media platform that's probably the most popular with advisors, you probably already know the answer to this, but what platform do you think this video is on? I know the chat feature isn't turned on, so you can't actually guess, but take a second and guess, okay, is this TikTok? Is this Instagram? Is this YouTube? What platform do you think this short form video is posted on? And if you have been active on LinkedIn at any point in the last couple of months, they have rolled out short form video as their main form of content that they're pushing in the main feed if you log in on your phone. Basically, since I think it rolled out in like May or something, like we were debating whether or not to even include this slide as presentation because it's kind of like quote unquote old news now, but we're in the weeds. A lot of people probably haven't heard of this yet. So we wanted to make sure that you know that not only are the main like the fun social media apps plugging short form video, big professional ones like LinkedIn are as well. So if you serve a certain niche of professionals that are very active on LinkedIn, that could be a very, very good place to post your videos and really find them. And not only is LinkedIn really heavily pushing short form video, this one's a lot more recent. I think in the last month or so, Google is now pushing short form videos at the top of their main feed search results when there's actually results to be had, as we'll see in the next slide, when you're Googling something on your phone. So I used Best Restaurants Denver as the example in this slide on the left-hand side of the screen here, because there is not a lot of competition for best financial advisor in Denver. As we can see, there are a couple like credit unions that have been posting stuff. And actually, Nate and I's friend Genesis, who works at Google and does personal finance stuff on the side, she posts personal finance content. She is not an advisor. She does not take on clients, but she is the second ranked video simply because there is no other competition out there. So if you want to rank on Google, the easiest SEO opportunity, which is search engine optimization opportunity out there right now, is just making a decent amount of short form videos. And in the descriptions of those videos say, blank, your name is a financial advisor in your city. So whenever someone searches financial advisor in your city, they're going to see a bunch of short form videos made probably by you, because there's not a ton of other advisors taking advantage of this yet, unless really there aren't really any, unless they're actively working with us right now. This is the best way to show up at the top of the search feed. And if you guys have played around with marketing before, you know how extremely difficult that is, because I mean, the big box firms, they have the SEO on lock. They have these massive digital masses that are really hard to move, but they're not going to be doing short form video for another couple of years. This is a great opportunity for first movers to go in there. And like we said in the slide, this is really a blue ocean opportunity. If you guys want to get a ridiculous amount of organic traffic to go to your website or just check out your videos, make short form videos, tag them as such in the description, and watch your SEO skyrocket. And one big question that we get when we talk with advisors is, okay, like I understand hundreds of millions of people in the US are watching short form video every single week, but are my ideal clients, like, does this skew younger? Long story short, kind of skews younger, but it really does depend on the platform. The percentages we have down here are the percent of each age range above the age of 30 that actively use each of these social media platforms. So we see that obviously Facebook and YouTube especially, they're super high. Like if you meet someone, it is a better chances than a coin flip that they actively use both Facebook and YouTube, no matter how old they are. But Instagram and TikTok, they are gaining heavy ground. When we first started doing this presentation back in 2023, even these stats were a lot lower for TikTok and Instagram. So as these platforms mature, they're getting adopted by more and more quote unquote the older demographic, which is obviously what a lot of financial advisors like to target because they typically have better AUMs. But Nate, do
So
people
then if
actually do they buy trust-based offers on social media? I mean, we know the answer to this, but go ahead and explain.
Yeah, that's the question that we get all the time is, okay, so they're on social media, but are they just watching someone teach them how to make fried chicken? Are they watching cat videos? Like, is there any chance that they're actually making a trust-based decision off of social media? And the answer is yes. I mean, they buy private jets off of TikTok. And yes, the jet business does do a significant amount of business off of their TikTok account. And so I cannot think of a more trust-based high ticket offer that you could possibly find. But there are a few other examples like lawyers and real estate agents, and of course the National Park Service, which I like to put on here because if you have not been on this page, it is so much fun. You would think that someone, if anyone's going to want to protect their like professional ecosystem or their reputation, it would be the National Park Service, that they would be so controlled in terms of what they can post. Man, they have so much fun. So check this out and see how they are building trust with a naturally low trust industry like the government just through social media. So the next question that we always get is, does this work for advisors? Yes, they can sell private jets. Yes, they can build trust for real estate and that sort of thing, but how are financial advisors doing? So as I mentioned, I own an RIA. These are just my numbers. I went full-time into content marketing in June of 2024. So this was what I closed out with at my business. And the RIA is still open. I'm working with these clients, but I'm no longer seeking new business. And so between January and June, I made 81 videos, which sounds like a lot, but they're a minute each. It was not a huge lift to get that done. That generated about 2,400 links page clicks. That is the link in my bio, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And they converted into 104 completed events. The second row on here is just a screenshot from my Calendly. And so 127 people signed up. We had some cancellations and some reschedules, but I was able to actually hold 104 of them. Of those, I converted about half of them, which means that I created 4 meetings per week and ended up onboarding about 50 new clients this year just from my short form video funnel. So what type of clients? What does this look like, right? What are these clients that are actually coming in the door? I'll give you 2 examples. So this one video that I posted, it's a little small on there, but this one had about 122,000 likes and about 1.3 million views. And I had an insane amount of discovery calls come from this one. But most importantly, I got 2. One was a real estate professional. He has a commercial real estate portfolio for about 4 million, and then he had unmanaged assets of about 3 million. And so we did a fixed fee assets under advisement agreement, and then we also did an AUM engagement. And then for the second client, he had recently sold a portion of his company to a PE firm. So he said, look, I've got all this money. It's locked up at First Bank, and I'm not sure I want to be there for obvious reasons. And so he ended up rolling that over. And these 2 worked because I built trust through repetition. So this was not the first video that either of these 2 saw. They had seen 20 or 30 of my videos over the course of about a year. So this was me consistently dripping on them, getting in front of them, and really converting them on one final video.
Yeah, and obviously you might be saying like, okay, Nate's been doing this stuff for a while. He knows what he's doing. Like, yeah, he's been making videos for 4+ years. He's obviously one of the best advisors in the space, but like, can other like quote unquote normal advisors do this? Yeah, they can. Our client Skylar is a phenomenal example of how quickly you can get results from a short form video. We don't like want to lead with this because he's obviously he's a breakout scenario here, but in his first 11 videos, he closed 8 new clients. Now, about 2 of these were straight up cold audience, like you would expect. Like, okay, he's prospecting with these videos. Strangers are seeing it. If it is ideal client demographic, schedule a meeting. It's a fit. They close. But 6 of them were actually something that we didn't really realize would be a thing. But short form videos really helped him supercharge his referral engine because, like a lot of you, Skylar's clients, they love working with him and they refer them to their friends, family, coworkers all the time. But by referring them, I mean they sent out his phone number or email address, and he was still like some faceless, scary advisor that they had no contact with up until that point. So it was really, really intimidating for them to reach out to him cold and either give him a phone call or email him or something. It was really hard to get them across the finish line if they even made contact with them. Short form video, on the other hand, it creates these little bite-sized pieces of value that your clients can easily share with their friends, family, coworkers. It's not a super, like, they're not risking their reputation with the people they send these videos to. It's not like sending over your email and be like, okay, this is my advisor, you should work with them. Instead, they send over this bite-sized piece of value that applies to whoever they're sending it to. And people are like, oh, I got a lot of value from that. Is that your advisor? And they're like, yeah. They're like, how can I reach out to them? Then it's a lot easier to reach out to somebody once you already have a face associated with them, once you know what their speaking cadence is like, once you feel like you already know, like, and trust them, which is what short form video is all about. We're going to be repeating those 3 words all the time because those are really the main value proposition of short form video. So not only does it help you reach out and close a cold audience, it really does help you do the one thing that advisory firms usually grow from is referrals. It helps you really supercharge that referral engine, especially if you already have a base of engaged clients. Now, Nate can give you a little bit of example of what this is really like because he had a ridiculously large client come through his funnel in the last couple of months. But long story short, if you want to attract high net worth clients on social media, really all you have to do is just talk to them because algorithms, they're going to read your video. They're going to see exactly what you said in your video, and they're simply going to serve it to people who have watched other similar videos. So if you make videos about like NUA, about IRMA, about managing stock options or deferred compensation, it's not going to send those videos to like 18-year-olds that are just starting college. It's just, they wouldn't gain value from those sorts of videos. So if you speak to your audience like you would speak to one of your clients and just do that in every single one of your videos, the algorithm is going to get trained up really quickly on who to send your videos to, whether that's a certain age demographic, whether that's a certain interest group, whether that's a certain like maybe job title haver in the case of LinkedIn. As long as you speak to them consistently and post over and over and over again, you're going to build up what we call your digital mass, which is basically, hey, if someone searches your name, are they going to be able to find you? And it really does help. It helps your SEO. It helps your organic outreach. It helps your referrals. We love short form video. But Nate, talk about that one whale of a prospect that came through your funnel just simply because you were speaking to an issue that catered to them.
Yeah, so I knew that this client or this prospect was qualified. I just didn't realize they were so qualified that I was going to have to tell them no, because there is no way that I could have served them. I am a good advisor. I'm not that good. So I had this call on a Saturday and he just started giving me some details, and I very quickly figured out that he was the self-elected financial manager for 30 different families in a 3-generation family tree. And he had been charged by the family with really pulling together all of their finances and applying the same family office approach that they had used in business to their financial management. And so it was over 35 different trusts, everything from charitable remainder trusts to intentionally defective grantor trusts, as well as about $173 million in AUM. And he was looking to find someone that could be the quarterback on all of that and interact with the estate planners, also do all of the tax returns for the individual families and for the trusts, and then, of course, manage the wealth. I was like, that's a really good idea. You should find someone to do that. And it's not going to be me. That is for sure. But he came from TikTok. So he did not come from Facebook. He did not come from LinkedIn, these platforms that we naturally associate with very high net worth, very engaged clientele. He came from the platform that people write off as the kids network. And he is someone that if I had been able or capable of taking that deal, I could have built a business off of just serving those families. And I would never have had to get a single client again. So that's the power of short form video. they are clearly looking for and scoping for their next advisor using these platforms.
100%. And one other thing I'll add on to this is at the bottom of the slide, a big question a lot of the clients we work with have is, okay, like how does this fit into my paid marketing strategy? Like should I do this or paid marketing? And the answer to that is both, because paid marketing is a lot more effective, and we've seen this ourselves at N2. When you have a large pool of organic content to test first in the market, see how it does organically. If a video does well organically, it makes sense that it would outperform other videos when it comes to putting paid ad spend behind it. So if you are a firm that is more advanced in your marketing and you do paid stuff, it makes a lot more sense to post organic content as well. Use that as a test case. Use it to promote your top performing organic content and just get a better ROAS, get a better return on ad spend. Short form video there's so many different like facets of your business it could be used in, but that is another one of them. All right, now we spent the first half of the presentation basically going through, okay, this is why short form video is good. This is why you should pay attention to it. Hopefully you're motivated now to at least listen and consider giving it a shot. So let's go into the actual nitty gritty of what it takes to be successful on each of these platforms. And we'll first start off by just doing a broad platform overview. Well, the four main ones here, again, we showed that LinkedIn was also on here. They don't really have anything super unique about them that's not listed on here, so you don't have to worry about them too much. But a couple unique quirks is one, video length. This was actually just changed a couple weeks ago. Used to be limited to a total video length of 60 seconds or less if you wanted to make one piece of content and post it across every single platform, which, and is another question we always get. Yes, you should do that, because it goes back to, hey, we're financial advisors. We understand the value of diversification. If you post one video on one platform, you're putting all your eggs in one basket with that one platform. But if you post one video across 4 or 5 platforms, you have a lot more surface area for luck where the algorithm is going to put you in front of the right people and push it out to a lot of people. But video length, it used to be only 60 seconds. Now the limiting factor is if you want to post on Facebook as well, the maximum it can be is 90 seconds long, so 1.5 minutes, which, to be honest, you should be making videos that long anyways. If you're just starting off making videos, we recommend they do stick to 60 seconds or less, because it's a lot harder to condense what you would normally say into like a 30 or 60 second soundbite than it is to drag something out to be 90 seconds long. But that's good. You want it to be hard, because you need to pack the value per second of short form video content to be as high as possible. Otherwise, people are just going to scroll on by and watch some of those entertaining content on the earth just spoon fed to them in their feed. So high value per second does mean your videos are going to outperform. One other thing I'll mention on here is Instagram. This is the platform that a lot of the clients we work with, especially, this is the one they're most familiar with, like using personally. So it really bumps them out when they start posting content on there and it's not getting as much reach as they would hope. But that is because Instagram is by far and away the hardest platform to get initial traction on. I forget how long I had to post before I got my first 1,000 followers on there, but it was months. It was months of reposting some of my highest performing TikTok content onto Instagram before I finally broke through. But that's just how Instagram is. Instagram is the one platform that still prioritizes having a big follower base over just making good content, which is what every other platform does. So it will take longer to get really in the good favor of the Instagram Reels feed and to have your stuff really start to be shown out to a cold audience. Just make sure you understand that when you go into it, because you're going to see like, oh, my videos on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, they're getting thousands of views. Why is my video on Instagram stuck at like 150? And that's normal. That is completely normal. Let's see, what else should we do on here? YouTube, I'd say YouTube has the best analytics of any platform on here. So if you're looking at any of the analytics, or if you want to see analytics for any of your videos, I would recommend starting on YouTube, because they just dive so much deeper than any of these other platforms do. And the one analytic that you should pay attention to that determines whether or not your video is successful or not is watch time. So what percentage of your video does the average person watch? Now, how successful, like what is considered a successful watch time does vary based on the platform. Like, for example, for YouTube Shorts, I see that my videos that are over like 80 to 90% average watch time, that's considered really good. That's going to be pushed out to hundreds of thousands or millions of people. On TikTok, it's more like a 40 or 50% watch time, just because there's so much other competition on that platform for eyeballs. Yeah, those are the quirks of each individual social media platform, but you'll see that a lot of them are fairly similar. And speaking of similar, designing your profile across each of them is pretty similar. So Nate, how would you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to add that Instagram is painful in the beginning, but it is so worth it. I have about 230,000 followers on TikTok, and I have about 12,000 followers on Instagram. And when I was wrapping up, I had just as many conversions from Instagram as I did from TikTok. So it is much more challenging, but the per follower ROI is way higher on that platform. It's so worth it to go through that stage. So let's talk about how you're going to design your profiles. This is pretty much the same across every single platform with a couple of different limitations. First things first is your name. Your name should be your actual name. This does not have to be unique to you. So as you can see, both Nick and I have our full names and our CFP moniker. So you should absolutely have any of your credentials and certifications alongside your name. Depending on the platform, some platforms will show your name at the bottom of the video. Some platforms will show your tag at the bottom of the video. So both are equally important. Your tag does have to be unique to you. And so our recommendation there is that you should do your name plus something finance related. So as you can see, I am Net Worth Nate and Nick is Nick Talks Money. So it immediately tells you when you see that tag, I know who this is and I know what they talk about. I can make a reasonable guess about what I'm going to get if I go to their profile or if I hit follow. The other piece is your profile picture. So really important to have some bright background behind you. This is really easy to do on Canva or something similar. So this is also a great way to add in your brand colors because we believe, well, we don't believe, we know that people follow people. They don't follow brands. And so when you are branding your profile, it should be to you. It should be to the person making the video. And then it can always link out in the link in bio to the business itself. So it should be a very good high quality headshot of you. And it should have preferably one of your brand colors as the background. So then the link in bio and the bio itself are a little bit more in depth. So let's talk about those. So your bio has to be pretty short. It has to be very, very short on TikTok. And it can be a little bit longer on Instagram. And I think on YouTube, it can be like 5,000 characters. Please don't use that full character limit. So the way that we recommend setting up your bio is line one should be some sort of rapport builder. So it should be, why should I trust you? And why are you someone that I believe will provide me good financial content? Line two is your value proposition to your viewers, not to your prospects. I'm going to say that again because this is so important. Your value proposition is to your viewers and your followers, not to your prospects. So what I mean by that is it is not, I help my clients make financial freedom inevitable, or I help my clients retire comfortably. That's your value proposition to your future clients. What do you do in your content that sets you apart? In my case, I make money simple and Nick makes personal finance fun, right? So the final one is a call to action. This is telling the follower or the viewer what they should do to click on your link in bio. So for me right here, I have free resources. I will occasionally have it as let's chat. Let's see if it's different on this one over here. Yeah, so I have let's chat as well as another alternative to my bio. And both of these are designed to direct people to the link, which is hoskincapital.com/links. This is a dedicated landing page for people who come from social media. So what I mean by that is it's not your homepage. It's designed to give them a very clear way to book a meeting or interact with any of your lead magnets. So this is how you create a funnel out of organic content. You make the content, they go from the video to your profile, and they click through to your website. That is when they get involved in your brand journey and your marketing funnel as a whole. Nick, your quality is better than mine today. I'm sad. I should probably work on the lighting in my office a little bit. It's a little dark in here, but talk to me about how you do that and why it's important for short form video in general.
Yeah, one of the awesome things about short form video is you don't need any of this super fancy equipment in order to make high quality content. You really could just use your phone and it would be fine. Whereas if you just tried to record a podcast or a long form YouTube video with your phone, people will be like, oh, that's not good. I'm not going to watch that. But the thing is, you want to stand out when it comes to quality, when it comes to short form video, because you're not going to stand out in a lot of other ways that a lot of other creators can be able to stand out. Like you're not going to be able to stand out with quantity. You're not going to be able to post a couple times per day unless you don't serve any clients right now. And you're not going to be able to to really amp up the entertainment value to be better than like a pranker or something, some other people that are making really super entertaining content on these platforms. And if you are making financial related content that speaks to especially high net worth individuals, it makes sense that you're going to want to have your camera quality looking a little bit nicer than everyone else. Your audio quality can be super nice. Your lighting all super nice. So we recommend getting at least these three pieces of equipment right here: an XLR microphone, or even just one with an audio jack, just some sort of external microphone you can plug into a what's called a mirrorless camera. That's basically like any camera that's been made in the last like decade or whatever. But we love like the Sony A6400. That's the one that's pictured up there. And then just a tripod to set this stuff on. If you get these three things plus a lighting system, which we're just about to show you, your content is going to look 100 times better than most of the people in your feed, which could be that little extra nudge that whoever scrolls across your videos need to actually sit down and watch your content all the way through and take you more seriously and potentially follow you and potentially engage with you further, whether that's downloading a lead magnet or actually jumping on a call and talking with you and becoming a client. Now, unfortunately, just because you spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 on a camera does not mean that that is money well invested unless you actually go and get good lighting. If I turn my camera around right now, you see this exact lighting setup without number three. Number three is kind of optional if you really want to amp things up, but I have a big light box right to my left, a big light box right to my right, and we'll see just how big of a difference this makes in this slide. So on the left-hand side of the screen, that would be me just taking a picture of myself in my normal office lighting setup. So my overhead light is on, the window to my left or over to the right-hand side of the screen as you're looking at it, that's open, and none of my lights are turned, none of my fancy production lights are turned on. On the right picture, literally that's 5 seconds later, all I did was turn off my overhead light, shut my window, and turn both the lights in front of me on, and you'll see that gives you a much more even like lighting fill and makes you stand out from the background and just makes your camera quality look 100 times better. So if you buy a fancy camera without investing in lighting equipment, you're basically throwing money away because you're going to look garbage. You're just going to look garbage at a higher quality. It's going to be like 4K, but you're going to have this big shadow over your face. And lighting systems are really, really cheap. I mean, you can get two nice soft boxes for like $100 total. Or if you wanted to get like the more fancier one I use, it's like a little under $300. So if you're spending a lot of money on a camera, it makes sense to invest in your lighting setup as well. But that's only one side of things. Honestly, the production setup, that's easier than this part of the process. And this is actually getting into the nitty gritty of, okay, how do I make content that people actually care about and want to listen to? So first up is organizing. Nate, how in the world do you keep track of all these scripts, these video topics that you're writing?
Yeah, it requires a lot of volume. That's what we keep talking about. And so how do you turn it into a system rather than something that you're doing inconsistently? And the big thing comes down to organization. So what you can see here is just our content organization template. Clearly, I use the same template because you guys are looking at all of my videos. And it starts with an idea. This is just a quick one-sentence description. What in the world do you want to talk about? Then it moves into scripting where you actually start to write out the content of that video. You sit down to record it, and then you move it into editing, whether you're editing yourself or you're working with an outsourced video editing team. Then you have to put in everything to actually post the video. So you need the hashtags, you need the caption, you need to know where it's going, you need to make sure that the video quality is correct and didn't get smushed, that sort of thing. Then it can actually be posted. So each different card is a video. So I have 94 video ideas and 121 in scripting. That is not a product of me doing an exceptional job, I don't think. It's just the fact that the ideas start to pour in when you start to look for them. I would say at least 60% of my video ideas just come from conversations that I have with clients. So I will explain something to them and their eyes will light up. They'll have a light bulb moment, and I will turn that into a video that I share with other people. Because if I have a client that I really like who had a problem that I was able to solve and explain simply, if I provide that same explanation with the same clarity as part of my organic marketing, the person who resonates with that is going to be very, very similar to that client that I really like to work with. So all of these things are going to be available to you guys. If you get in touch with us after this webinar, we'll send you 6 different video resources. It includes this template. It includes our equipment lists to go in depth on exactly how we set up our equipment, not just the quick recommendations we gave you on the slide, plus a whole bunch of other things that'll help you actually produce these videos. So the other component of the organization is compliance, which is a big question we get from advisors. So what do you actually need to remain compliant? What we've done is we've included a compliance approval date so that you're able to say this is when the script was approved and by whom, who's the compliance representative. You're also going to have the final asset. So that meets the books and records requirement for archiving all of your marketing assets. And then you will also have the platforms that that the video was posted to. So if you need to go in and you need to send the SEC or the state a specific video from a specific platform, you're going to know where to find it. And then you will also have your posting date. So you can go back in and figure out exactly when that marketing piece was shared with the world. And then most importantly, you can just hit export and you can export this as a CSV and quickly provide the regulators with all of this information for every single video that you've posted. So super straightforward. It has saved me. I went through both the Colorado and the California examinations, and the ability to just export this and send it to them was lovely, or rather, it would have been lovely if they had asked for it. Because both times I went through, they didn't care. I asked the Colorado regulator, hey, do you want to look at my social media? It's my primary marketing channel. It's kind of like how I get all my clients. And he said, sure, send me 3 videos and I'll just check them to make sure that it looks okay. And it didn't even show up in my deficiency letter. They really did not think about it as a big risk factor for my business, even though I did. So then you actually have to sit and write the scripts, right? You have to fit something into that organization framework. The hook is going to be responsible for 90% of your video's success. The hook is the first 5 seconds of your video at most. Preferably, it's the first 3 seconds. And the great thing about short form video is that you can have so many different types of hooks and they all overlap with each other. So what I mean by that is you can have a verbal hook, what you say at the beginning of your video. You can have an audio hook, which is a snap. That's something I'll do pretty consistently. Or you can have some other sound that causes people to scroll break. And then you can also have a text overlay, because humans can read far faster than you can say something to them. So they can ingest your hook far faster and determine whether or not the video is worth their time. And then when you are actually delivering the hook, you can include a couple of interesting things. You can include a counter, which, for example, is 3 reasons financial advisors should do short form video that you haven't heard of yet. So someone can hear that initial hook and go, well, I've been checking out short form video. I probably know all of these things I should be doing. And the counter will say, I'm willing to bet that you haven't. So they'll go, all right, I'll hear you out. Let's watch the rest of this video and see if I learned something new. The other thing you can do is movement. So you can come into the frame, you can add a zoom. There are a number of different ways to integrate movement into your hook. Once you've hooked the viewer, then you have to reel them in. So you have to provide them with good information, but not provide them with the answer. So for example, if I was delivering 3 things financial advisors should know about short form video, the reel would be me delivering 1 and 2. But the final answer, the closing of the loop, giving them 100% of what they signed up for by watching the video, is that 3rd component. And so what I would do is I would explain the value of the 3rd element. I would explain the impact of the 3rd element, and then I would tell them what the 3rd element is at the very end of the video. So once you deliver the answer, that's when the video stops, unless you want to add a call to action, which you really should only be doing about 50% of the time at most, probably more like 20% of the time. So Nick, one of the questions we get quite often from advisors who have checked us out on social media and that sort of thing is, do I have to wear a wig if I'm going to work with you guys? Tell us a little bit about how recording videos can change from person to person.
Yeah, so advisors ask us that because my main goal with my content is to make personal finance fun, make it easily digestible for the most amount of people possible. And that means making my videos in a very like edutainment heavy style. And the best way I found, I've tested every single video format out there. The best way I found is these educational skit things here. So let's go ahead and hit play on this and you'll see what he means by me wearing a wig. So those are really, really good at getting the maximum amount of reach possible. Like this stock options video, I think I posted the one from TikTok that has like 2,000 likes, but this got over 500,000 views on Facebook Reels. So some really complex topic that doesn't apply to a lot of people, like stock options, can still get a ridiculously wide reach if you do it in a format like this that appeals to a lot of people. But as Nate can say, he does a mix of these skit videos, and then let's just play one of his talking head style videos here. So Nate does a mix of these talking head style videos and skits. And Nate, how many views did your foreign car one get that had like 7 million on Instagram? Like how many meetings did that convert into?
Oh yeah, so that was actually a really interesting situation because I posted a video about the I think it's called like foreign delivery or something where you can go overseas and pick up a car and they'll pay for your flights and that sort of thing. And it got a combined 12 million views across all platforms. Absolutely exploded. I did not get a single meeting from that video. I got a huge amount of traffic. I got tens of thousands of followers, a huge amount of likes and interactions, but no one actually wanted that to turn them into a financial advisory client. So that's why I choose to intermix the two, is because I still want that volume. I want those new followers, but I want to share information more candidly using these talking head videos so that they actually realize that I'm a qualified person who can be trusted to provide them with financial advice.
Exactly. And if you were to choose only one, like I think it's like 99% of the advisors that we work with at N2, they don't want to do skits, and that's completely understandable. It takes a very unique personality to want to be doing skits. And so if you were to only choose one, just do talking head style stuff, just provide as much value as possible. And no, they won't get quite the view counts that skit style videos would, but over time they will attract a much more qualified audience. And I mean, if you're using this as a marketing channel, that's your end goal. So yeah, if you were to only choose one, do talking head for sure. Let's look at Nate's other talking head one here. So that's a good example of a video that includes all three of those different type of hooks that Nate was talking about, where there's a text-based hook, which is saving and investing as a 25-year-old. There was that snap right at the beginning, and then obviously there's what he said, and there was also a zoom right away. So there was that movement that was going on. So obviously Nate included all four of these, and he got about 3,000 likes just on TikTok in this video. So they worked. They hooked people, and they hooked people that fit kind of the younger end of his ideal client demographic, because he's talking about people that are 25 years old and probably making pretty decent money, but they don't really know what to do with it. And that was him recording at his desk. Another fun option that I recommend any advisor experiments with, if you have like a unique hobby or something, is just recording videos while you are doing that unique hobby. Like for example, mine was hiking out here in Colorado, and this video it got like, I want to say like 4 million views on Instagram alone. And for whatever reason, it got like 3,000 on TikTok. So that's another reason why you should post across every single platform. You have no idea what's going to hit on what platform. And it got me like 70,000 followers on Instagram. It was absolutely insane. And it was just me making a kind of broad-based video while hiking. So there's unique background talking about money. So it kind of attracted who I want to consume my content. And it did ridiculously well. Let's watch a couple seconds of it. So that second part of what I said there, that's kind of in the same vein as a counter, but it's more of like a foreshadowing, and say like, oh, you won't believe what number 5 is. And it's just another really like tool you can use to push people to actually consume all of your content. Because again, if your video has high watch time, if people watch to the end, then it's going to be seen by a lot of people and end up working out really well for that style of video. All right, so you know the different kind of recording formats, but there is still the whole editing thing. Now, we don't recommend that any financial advisor edits their own videos. I mean, It's something you can outsource for not a ton of money to people that are going to be better editors than you ever will become, because it's just a completely separate skill set that you have to learn. But it is very, very useful to understand the language of editing, because if you don't, how are you going to communicate with professional editors? It's going to be really hard if you don't speak their language. So first up, we have basic cuts. We recommend recording all of your videos in scenes. So if you write out a video script, no matter whether that's talking head or whether it's a skit style like the ones that I usually make, we don't sit down, hit record, and then go through every single line in the script like once in one take and expect that to be a good video. We sit down, we still only hit record once, but we say each line a couple times because we want to make sure we get each line correct, and then we splice them together through these basic cuts. So you'll just see how the scenes change in this one, and they'll give you a good idea of that. So cuts are just cutting as close as possible to where the audio stops in each scene, so there's no dead air in between your different scenes, and that just helps improve the pacing of the video, and again, gives people to watch a little bit longer. If you wanted to step things up a little bit in complexity, but still increase pacing and make your videos look a little bit more polished, you can include something called L cuts or J cuts. L cuts is when the audio from the preceding scene bleeds into the following scene a little bit, and this example from Nate is a really good illustration of that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think we have audio on this, so
Oh no!
just to provide a little bit of info on how this works. Essentially, you will cut to another frame, but the audio from the previous cut will continue in the next frame. And so what that does is it allows there to be absolutely zero downtime between words being spoken. And I think that is just the leveled up version of basic cuts, where if you can clip back and forth, that's great. But if you can add a little bit of overlay, it's really going to level up the pacing of your video.
100%. And then the next illustration is just text overlays. You can see it without me playing the video. It's just, again, that text overlay hook that it says a little bit something different than what you're actually saying as the hook in the video, because people can process text super fast. They're super easy to add in. One recommendation I would make when doing these text overlays is make them look organic to whatever platform you're posting on. So if that's Instagram, TikTok, etc., I mean, they all look pretty similar, but if you're using an external editing program, or if your editor is using an external editing program, these text boxes can look like just super wonky, super sharp edges, weird colors that you wouldn't see naturally on these platforms. So I would recommend making it look like this with like colors that you can actually find inside of the Instagram or inside of the TikTok app with rounded edges. It sounds like a small detail, but it really does make a huge difference, because people will immediately notice if something does not look organic to the platform, and they're more likely to scroll by. Finally, we have video overlays here. So this is great if you want to do kind of reaction style content, which Nate did for his first couple videos, right? You kind of like, quote unquote, like hijack someone else's popularity or like their hook, or you can use it in your own content. And it really helps you, especially when you're just getting started, reach like an audience that has already been proven to be entertained by a certain video, and then give your own take on it and provide additional value on top of that video. So here is an example of Nate's. So
And
in that case, Nate wanted to make
if
a
anyone
video.
here is a life insurance salesperson or sells IULs, maybe don't go to my profile. I do have a full playlist of this type of video, so just a fair warning.
Yeah. So these four editing styles are really all you need. And then one more thing you should add are these text captions on here, because I have reps at TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And one thing they consistently say is, hey, please add captions to your video, because our data shows that over 50% of the people that watch short form videos do so with the sound off. Like they're probably in public places, they're riding the bus, riding the train, out at a grocery store or something. They don't have their headphones in, and they just don't want to annoy people around them, which, hey, thankfully we have those people. Some people don't, and they play the stuff out loud. But we want to make sure that you don't alienate half of your potential viewership by not having text-based captions throughout your entire video. Thankfully, through the editing programs we're going to cover in this slide, that's super easy to add them. It's usually just a click of the button, and they're already automatically generated, and they're automatically placed in the right spots in the timeline. Sometimes you might need to adjust the spelling every once in a while, but they're usually pretty spot on, especially compared to when we both started making videos back in 2020. They are a night and day difference. So if you do want to try out editing for yourself, especially for your first couple videos, I'd say it's pretty worth it. There's a couple free tools, a couple paid tools we recommend. The free tool I have liked the most, at least up until recently, is CapCut, and I say that because they are a tool that is owned by TikTok, so they have every single thing that you could potentially need to make a good short form video. Like they have every single feature you could think of, but recently they've started kind of reducing the amount of quote unquote premium features you can use for free before you pay them. Like caption generation is one of them. So if you want to make a lot of videos and do a lot of editing on your own, CapCut may no longer be the best free choice. And instead, I would recommend just using Instagram or even TikTok in some cases. But I say Instagram because they offer all the caption tools you need. You can do the cuts on them super easy. But they also always have had this download button. So you can download your Instagram video straight to your camera reel or your photo reel without any watermarks, which is something that TikTok has kind of turned on and off over the years I've been using it. They're never super consistent with it. So if you do edit a video in Instagram, you can download that video to your camera reel so you can post it across every single other platform without a watermark, which is super nice. But the downside there is you can't use your desktop. And at least I think Nate thinks that editing on your desktop is just so much easier than editing on your phone. It's a lot more efficient. If you do want to edit on your desktop, there's a couple paid tools that we absolutely love. The one that we use the most at N2, that our team uses the most at N2, is Descript. It's an AI video editor, and it's unfortunately doesn't do everything for you yet. But one of the really cool things that it does is once you upload your raw footage, it automatically transcribes your entire video. So you see like this big wall of text that corresponds to each scene in your video on the left-hand side of the screen. So that way, when you're recording, I like to make call outs and say like, oh, that was a good scene, check that one, or oh, that was a bad take, cut it. So you can just see that, you can read that in the text without actually having to watch through your entire video and kind of prune out your scenes that way without having to sit down and watch through your content multiple times over, which if you're editing like let's say the raw file is like 5 to 10 minutes long, if you watch that through a couple times, that starts to add up really quickly. So text-based editing is super cool. They have other cool tools that improve your audio. They have really good caption tools. So we love Descript. It's like $12 a month. So it's really not bad. If you wanted to go a little bit more fancy, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, those are both cool options. But unless you really want to get serious about becoming an expert editor yourself, it's really not worth it. And finally, we'll breeze through posting here because I know we are getting a little bit closer. Posting, there are no magic posting times. Scheduling software usually is not very good because platforms can flag that. Post content everywhere, and the amount of hashtags you should use are usually between like 4 and 5 if you really want to not confuse the algorithm. And Nate, I'll let you take home the rest of the presentation here.
Awesome. So then the question we get quite often is, how do you actually scale this among a larger firm where there are multiple advisors? So we mentioned that people follow people, they don't follow brands. So our recommendation is that each advisor who wants to make videos would have a profile branded to them on every platform. And then the company page can act as a wrap-up or a highlight reel of those most successful posts. So this is not a situation where it makes the most sense to have just one company page with a lot of people on it. It works so much better if each advisor has their own setup. So I also put this in. This is more for you guys when you receive the slides. It's just a breakdown of kind of how you use the system in a broader framework. But to wrap up here, how do you actually scale short form video? You're going to need written procedures, an organizational hub. You need to make sure that you appear well on camera in terms of production and actual on-camera presence. You need to have really high quality video editing. You need a way to post and retain those videos, both for compliance and for analytics, so that as you are continuing to make videos, you can iterate on what works and what doesn't to really have a successful system in here. And when we do everything right, we end up with results somewhere to the tune of 30 to 35,000 views in the first couple of videos. That is what we consider to be a successful launch, and then it only grows from there. And we actually have Aaron here as one of our testimonials. I totally forgot that was on here. So that makes me really happy that you guys were willing to sort of give us that when we did our embedded consulting with you guys. So I know that we are pretty much completely out of time. So we're going to do some Q&A real quick, and maybe we'll do Q&A. We might have to wrap it up later. Alexis?
Yeah, so I see we've got a couple great questions that I want to address right off the bat. The first one being, is there a recording available for today's session? So there is going to be a recording available. You're going to see in the next day a follow-up email that's going to provide the slide deck. It's going to provide the recording from today's session. So if you're not taking notes throughout, it is no worries. You can feel free to watch that at your ease. A lot of great questions that I feel like you guys did already address, but it's important to highlight those at a deeper level to make sure you have that clear understanding for some things. One thing that I see in the Q&A section a little bit is how often do you recommend posting per week for somebody that's starting out?
Yeah. So when we work with our done for you clients, we do everything except appear on video. So we do all the ideation, all the scripting, and then all of the editing and posting as well. The reason we do that is so that we can enable the advisor to post 5 times per week. So every single business day for 3 to 6 months. That's definitely our recommended posting cadence. If you do less than 3, it really starts to hurt the engagement because they're just not getting you in front of them as often as they would like. Like the viewers will kind of lose that attention span and maybe not remember you the next time you come around. Whereas if you're consistent, they'll be like, oh yes, I recognize this person. I associate them with good information, and you build trust that much faster.
Perfect. Another great question that I see coming up a little bit is, this is a good question. For those that are having personal profiles in social media, for those of you that are constantly on social media, as we know, do we have that personal approach versus do we have a separate page dedicated to our businesses? And I feel like you talked about the difference of having a company profile versus those advisor profiles, but there's an even deeper rooted question about those of us that want to use social media on our own. Is that something that is foreseeable? And of course, should we separate that?
Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So the main scenario where we see this being a problem is when you are like, we already have an Instagram page, for example. Let's say you have an Instagram page, it's your personal one. You have like 150 people that follow you. They're all friends and family. They didn't sign up to receive 5 personal finance videos show up in their feed every single month from you or every single week from you. So we don't usually recommend doing that because they're going to see that like, oh, cool. Maybe the first one they're going to watch, but they're not going to want to watch the rest of them. So it's really going to hurt your metrics because people are just going to scroll by whenever your stuff appears in their feed. So instead, we recommend you make a separate brand new account so you can start with a clean slate. Again, on most platforms, follower count doesn't really matter anymore. So as long as you're making good content, which the clients we work with, they start out of the gate with really good content. But as long as you start making good content right away, your stuff's going to get pushed by the algorithms. And it's a lot better to start with a clean slate because you don't have that sort of like built-in follower base that confuses the algorithm a little bit and say like, oh, why are these people following him when they don't watch personal finance content normally? So almost always clean slate. The only exception would be a personal Facebook account. If you're comfortable posting on that, that does get a lot more reach than a business Facebook account does. But if you don't want to post in your personal, you have to make a business page. That's the only exception to that rule.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. I know like there are a lot of us like to have our personal social media pages, Instagram being one of those things, Facebook too. And I think what you guys also highlighted that is very important when we're answering that question too, is having that established name for yourself. So like Net Worth Nate is great name, but you probably wouldn't have that for your own Instagram profile. So you can kind of have that separated space, but you got to keep in mind that it might clutter the feed if there's 2 profiles for Nate Hoskin, for example. So it's a great question and it's certainly a prime one, but definitely just making sure those are separated. It sounds like a great way to go. Another question that we have that I think is also a fantastic question to ask for those that are older advisors. So the question is, for older advisors, do you think that this is a process that will work for them? Or do we think that viewers are only going to want to look towards a younger advisor as a resource when we're looking at social media?
I think it's a superpower right now because there are a lot of people that look like me on social media. And so it's much harder for me to stand out, and I have to do that based on my content. But there are a huge amount of 60 or even 80 plus people who are making content on social media and doing extremely, extremely well because it's not content that you see every day. It stands out automatically. And often the most successful ones are providing financial education from the perspective of someone who has already experienced all of it, right? So when you think about who do you want to be educated on, is it more someone in a mentorship role or someone in an aspirational role, someone who's your age but has maybe achieved more than you have? In a lot of cases, they want to look to those older, more experienced people for that information, and it works extremely well on social media.
Yeah, I think that's a great point there. And it's great to have that standing out aspect when we're on social media, which has an unlimited number of advisors on there and an unlimited number of people that are on social media. So having that differentiating factor is important. Another question that we have that I think is also important that you guys kind of touched on earlier in the conversation was in regards to the Google searches and the popping up now of Google short form videos. So the question is, how do we determine what we should be tagging videos on in general? How do you determine that process? But also, what do you do to get your videos to pop up in Google searches?
Yeah, how do you rank? So it all comes down to the video description. Google can do a lot of work with the video file itself, but it's much harder for any of those crawling systems to figure out what a video says versus what text says. And so in your video description, you can add in a blurb about your firm. So for example, mine says Hoskin Capital is a registered investment advisor in Denver. And I will add in those SEO keywords of who I work with, who my perfect audience is, what I do for people. So in terms of like equity compensation planning, that sort of thing. So that all just lives in my video description so that Google can read that and link that to a search that someone might make.
Yeah, I think someone else asked like which platform should you post on to rank on Google. Obviously, YouTube is owned by Google, so that's a really good place to start. But we've also seen that Instagram, TikToks post up there or appear in the search feed quite a bit as well. Facebook Reels, we haven't seen quite as much of them, just because there's not as many of them comparatively.
Yeah,
it's post everywhere. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Another great question that we have, and this is a vital question. I'm actually going to answer this one as well, but the question is, how do you continue to come up with new ideas? Do you repeat topics with a different message? So I want to preface this in saying that we know that financial advising in the economy is an ever-changing being. So there's always something new that you can address, whether it's something you've already discussed before, stock plans, for example, diving into stock plans and the nuances of RS or restricted stock or incentive stock options. There's constantly changes happening there. So just that idea that there's always an ever-moving piece of our financial landscape that you can always present on. But I'll also let you guys take that question as well, because it's going to be key when you're constantly pumping out new social media pieces.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great balance between evergreen content and timely content, where if you wanted to do 20 videos in a month, you could do 10 of those on evergreen content, and you would not run out of that content until you hit like 500 videos. But then the remaining 5 could be more timely. They could be talking about specific things that are going on. When we work with clients, we focus on the evergreen content first, because that will have the longest possible shelf life. So if you're going to do 60 videos or you're going to do 120 videos, those should be evergreen to start. But as you go forward, I have never had ideas be the blocking factor for my content. If anything, it's the time it takes to sit down and write 20 or 30 scripts every single month, and the time to sit down and actually communicate with the video editors and get those edited and provide my feedback. That's always the problem. I have more ideas than I know what to do with. Nick, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100% agreed. And there's always a different way you can frame a certain topic. Like I probably made 500 different videos on Roth IRAs and like stock options and index funds. There's always a different way you can present the information. And an important thing to remember is that not every single one of your followers is going to watch every single one of your videos. So even if you just slightly tweak a video that you made like 2 years ago, one, even people that saw that video probably aren't going to notice, but two, you're going to have a much different audience than you did back when you originally posted it. So it's not going to be that big of a deal and people are still going to get value from it.
Awesome. All great points. Another question that we have is, how are you able to determine if you got a meeting from a specific video? Is it the click path, or what kind of analytics are you looking at for that information?
Yeah, so this is kind of hard to do. Well, I wouldn't say it's hard to do. It's just hard to perfectly associate someone with a conversion point. So the simplest thing that I do is when they schedule a meeting with me, I ask them the question of where they came in from. Then I will get a little bit more advanced. So I have mirrored landing pages for each different platform. So I know if someone clicks through into my landing page, I know which platform they came from. And then there's the much more intangible component where I don't know if that's the only thing that closed them. Like maybe there will be people on this webinar that will watch this webinar, but then they'll connect with me and Nick on LinkedIn. And so they'll see a short form video and they'll click on that short form video to go to my profile, to go to my website. And it's like, where'd you come in from? Well, I came in from the RightCapital webinar, but it took that short form video as part of that content flywheel to get you to have a conversation with us and determine if you want to work with us. The same thing works with financial advisory, where I can probably associate, like, of those about 100 meetings that I had over the course of 6 months, I know for a fact where 70% of those came from. And the remainder, I'm not 100% sure. They saw so much of my content that I wouldn't be able to tie it to a specific platform.
Yeah, another great comment kind of stemming off of that and just evergreen topics in general in those videos. Do you ever repost the same videos?
Yeah, it's really hit or miss. I reposted for a while, like from June to today, I was kind of transitioning into full-time at N2. And so I was still kind of producing content for Hoskin Capital. And I reposted a lot of videos over that period. And they didn't do extremely well. Like, I think particularly YouTube Shorts, don't repost videos on YouTube Shorts. They hate it. They will just absolutely nuke the engagement. Instagram and TikTok are more forgiving. You can have some reposts there do quite well. But in general, it's better to do the same video over again. So once let's say you post 100 videos and you want to redo the topic of the first video, if you repost the first video, the quality is going to be bad. You're not going to be as good as you are now. You got fewer reps, right? And so if you just take the same script and do it again with everything you've learned, you're going to have a better video that takes pretty much no time to put together. You already paid the fixed costs of writing the script.
That's a great point. And another question that we have is, what kind of platform or what resource do you use when cross-posting across multiple social media platforms, if you use one at all?
We do it all manually.
Mhm.
And that's one of the big value adds for our clients, is that they don't have to worry about doing that, and they can do it optimally, because things like Buffer and other scheduling softwares, like we have one that we like, that we're testing out right now and working with the vendor to see if it's going to do the job that we need. But the best way to post is to do it manually in pretty much every case. So to have a project manager doing that for you, so you don't have to worry about posting a video to 5 platforms every single weekday optimally, has been, I mean, that's usually where our clients are like, I filmed my videos. I am so glad I'm done. I'm so glad I don't have to think about this for another 6 months.
Yeah, another question that we have, I see a couple people ask this, for that slide where you were covering the resource that you use to organize all of your video information. I just want to confirm that that was Notion that you were using to organize that information, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And so what we'll probably do, you guys can totally find this, but I will also send out the 6 resources to any of you guys who want. The easiest way is probably just to drop your emails as a question. Like, if you just put your emails in there, I'll make sure that you get it directly, because I don't want to nuke everyone from this webinar with an email if they're not going to find it valuable. So if you just ask a question and put your email address in there, I'll send you that Notion template. I'll also send you the equipment list. That is super, super valuable to understand exactly what we use. And then you're also going to find a whole bunch of other resources in there that will hopefully be worthwhile. Sorry, I totally screwed up your Q&A flow, I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to be a little harder to scroll through.
We had a lot of people also asking for the specific email going to their email, so it's perfectly fine. I see a lot of questions too about your option number 3, if you can just go back that other slide.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that this is going to be a great place to start to wrap up the webinar, just because we're at the end of our time frame. But for those different options for the potential solutions, we have step number 3, which is N2. And there's obviously the number 1, which is just doing it yourself. Number 2, hiring a team. And then there's number 3, which is our hosts for today, N2.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we price this is based on batches. So we started out as a more traditional done for you marketing firm where we would charge people a monthly retainer for X number of videos, for X number of scripts, that kind of thing. But what we learned very quickly was that advisors have so much volatility in their schedule that it's hard to stick to something month by month, because you're going to have a great month and then you're going to have surge and then you're going to have tax time and then you're going to have a well-earned vacation. How are you going to fit videos in there? The way that we've proposed doing it is you do 60 or 120 videos in a batch. So we do everything except appear on camera. We come up with the ideas, we write the scripts, we write every single script custom. There is no white labeling. There is no you doing the same script as everyone else. It's custom to you, your business, and your target audience. And then you sit down and record the videos. We coach you on all of that so that when you sit down to record, the videos are awesome. We take those back and edit them and post them. So what that means is you sit down for 3 days, treat it like a conference and clock out to focus on video. You film all of them and you're good to go for 3 or 6 months, depending on whether you do 60 or 120 videos. So for 60 videos, it's 14,500. And for 120 videos, it's 27,000. The idea is that for most advisors who charge 1% in AUM, they need one really good client over the course of 3 months, or they need 2 or 3 really good clients over the course of 6 months. And based on what we've seen from the clients that we've worked with so far, that is something that we feel very comfortable saying, yes, that is most likely going to happen. And there is the upside that you might end up like Skylar and post 11 videos and have 8 clients. You're going to 10x your ROI and be like, okay, stop. Please stop posting the videos. Like, I will get back to the posting cadence, I promise. But right now I need to double down and figure out if I'm going to hire someone. So yeah, there's the pricing. Feel free to ask me more questions on that too, guys. Let me know. Let me know if you want any clarification on kind of how that process works. Speaking of questions, I actually just saw that Sonia asked, do you sell online courses? Sonia, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here, because yes, we have a course on our website. And that is a fantastic resource for people who want to do more done for you. But the secret that I will let you in on is that I am going to take that course and condense it down into about 2 straight hours. And so if you drop me your email address, I will just send you that course when I film it. So that will cover everything. You won't have to pay for it, but I just need your email in order to send that over to you. So let me know.
That's awesome. So I want to note for those that are watching obviously live, but also the ones that watch the recording that gets sent out after this, for anyone that's interested in getting those templates, the resources that N2 is talking about, feel free to follow up in that email, and we'll be happy to pass your information along to N2 so they can provide you with those resources. So great kind of comments and Q&A's happening now.
Yeah, and is there
those videos as well?
Maybe something I can do is I'll send all of you guys an email just so that you guys get my email address. And that way you can let me know directly. Obviously, I have all of you guys who kindly put it in here. But just to make sure that I can get everyone those resources, and then I will also create a list of people that I'll send that video course to. So we'll just be able to go back and forth and you guys can request that sort of thing from me. Sonia, with the fantastic questions today. Do you know any advisors doing this in Spanish? Yes, one. We had one client who did this in Spanish, but I have not seen anyone else doing this. Talk about blue ocean. To rank in Spanish on Google, to be one of the only advisors doing it, like that's insane. So that's a very cool thing.
Perfect. That was going to be my next question, because I think it's a fantastic opportunity for those of you that do offer those services in Spanish to really take advantage of that opening in the market. Because that's going to be number one for financial advisors, is really getting yourself out there and differentiating yourself, especially on social media and establishing that presence. We're already used to brands being on there, but financial advising is a different realm altogether. So it's going to be important that you have that factor to you. A lot of great people filtering in, asking for this resources. So great to see it. Great to see that also the interest in the online course as well. And then this is probably going to be our final question for today, but this is a very prime question to ask in that, do you find that people are more receptive to education entertainment videos, the culmination of both, versus just professional education? And this question is in specific to typically the retirement demographic of 55 plus.
Yeah, I think professional education should lead, absolutely, where that's going to be where you're going to get most of your conversions. That's how you turn your efforts into money. But the edutainment is so good at capturing everyone. I would not say that retirees don't like that or scroll past it or anything. Like they love that stuff. So there's no reason to silo yourself in one direction. And that's the great thing about video. You might make the first 60 purely professional, but now you're comfortable on camera and you're like, yeah, I do want to experiment. I do want to try some new things. And you just have endless opportunities to do so.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to give it another couple seconds. I see people are still entering their email addresses for the videos. For those of you that want to hop off, feel free to do so. We're just going to keep the floor open for another minute while you guys just enter your emails into the Q&A for those resources. But another prime question that I see, this is a little bit of a deeper question, so it's a good one to kind of also wrap in on. But the question is, how do you make money from content without conversions? When you're posting often, and it's that idea of when we have a lot of social media presence and we keep posting videos, and especially when you're starting to get out there, establishing that presence, you might not see an immediate return on investment. What do you do in those cases? What's something to keep in mind? Is kind of also a better question to ask for that as well. I see somebody also asked that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick went on stage at TikTok talking about financial education and specifically influencer industry work. So I don't think there's anyone better qualified to talk about how to monetize outside of being a financial advisor. Oh, we might have you on mute, Nick. Or you might have disconnected a mic. Yeah, nothing. Nothing. Well, I can talk about just the higher level stuff because I have experimented with monetizing a little bit, just nowhere near what Nick has done. So there are a couple of ways you can monetize. The first one is the creator funds on these different platforms. So once you get to a certain level of followership and viewership, they'll allow you to enroll in the creator fund. And I think I make like 27 cents per 1,000 views on TikTok. And so you take that, you combine it with the Instagram creator fund, that sort of thing. It's probably 500, 600 bucks a month that just kind of floats in, just as a product of my marketing. So that feels really cool. That pays for editing cost and that kind of thing, just so it can be a self-sustaining marketing funnel. You can do brand deals. So you can do specific videos for other companies. Nick has done this with Fidelity, Discover Bank, Ally Bank, Facet Wealth as one of the financial advisors. So they will pay him for 1 or 2 videos, and he has a number of different packages that brands can purchase. That's probably the main monetization framework. And then YouTube specifically has AdSense. So if you do some short form videos and some longer form videos, you can create a lot of money that way. Those are really the main methods. But the other one I think that people don't think about as much is speakerships. So I have done a number of speaking engagements, like the Kitsis Marketing Summit, for example. That was all from social media. And so there are some paid engagements that you can do that tie in with being a financial advisor. Nick, I'm sorry we lost you on the audio. That's such a shame. Oh, you're back.
Hey. Yeah, no, you said that super well. I mean, really, my main profession, I guess, over the last couple of years since I left being an advisor and pre-N2 was basically doing marketing for these large financial services firms who have realized that short form video, social media, that's where their next generation of clients live. So I haven't seen like a lot of advisors do these sorts of marketing partnerships, but that was how I made most of my money, was helping like Fidelity get a couple thousand, tens of thousands of new users on their platform. So I was driving conversions to financial platforms, basically, not to my own RIA, but it's a similar client demographic they're going after. They're still going after more sophisticated investors, et cetera, I guess, depending on the platform. But yeah, those brands, they've been leaning super heavily into social media for the last couple of years. So advisors are really just starting to catch up. And that's how we started Leg 2. We realized we are the best people in the world to help specifically financial advisors grow their business on social media with short form video, because we've both done it. We're still the largest CFPs in the space. We have by far and away the most views of any CFPs in the space. And again, I've worked with big brands. Nate has actually used it to get 170 plus clients. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here talking to you guys today.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then this is going to be the final question to wrap it up. And I think this is an important message to take home. But can you talk about how important consistency is in social media posting in terms of gaining value?
Yeah. So the algorithms have a very explicit objective. Their goal is to keep people on their platform as much as possible. So that means that they have the incentive to provide people with good content consistently to incentivize them to stay on the platform. And so what they want to do is they want to seriously reward creators who consistently create really high quality content, right? So the people that are going to be reinforced by the algorithm and pushed to more people consistently are going to be people who create a high quantity of high quality content. And what happens is that if you go a period without posting, it will downrank your profile over time because you're not helping the algorithm do its job. You're not feeding into that. And so consistency is absolutely imperative. You have to be able to do it in a way that is sustainable. But I want to caveat that a little bit, which is that we have a number of clients who did 120 videos and they said, you know what? We're actually good for now because we got a great marketing funnel, but we have 1,000,001 ways we want to use these videos that are different from social media. So we want to take these videos and turn them into a video blog on our website. So instead of having a bunch of articles, we want people to just be able to go scroll our videos on our website. We want to send these out to existing clients and to prospects on our mailing list. We see these 120 assets as something that we can use for the next year and a half. And then we will come back and focus really heavily on the social media funnel. And so there's just so much usability that, yes, to be in the good graces of the algorithm, you have to be consistent. But to see insane results for your firm, you can do it in a sprint. You don't have to commit to the next decade of producing constant content.
Perfect. And that is definitely a great way to wrap up the conversation. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're really honored to have you guys here to host this very impactful and very insightful conversation about the importance of marketing and the tools needed to be successful in making short form videos. So I really want to thank you guys for your time today. I want to thank everyone's time that's attended this webinar as well, of course. And I want to ensure that you will receive that recording and the follow-up email and a lot of resources as well. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a fantastic weekend.
Same to you. Thanks so much for having us, Alexis.
Take care, everyone.
Yep.